Hello and a warm welcome to everyone. Myself Manish Prabhakar Singh, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Model College, Kharsawa, affiliated to Kolhan University, Chaibasa. Today's lecture will be on the poem Wants by Philip Larkin. I will try to make it easier for you to understand the subtle nuances used by Larkin in this particular poem, the theme of melancholy, and the imagery of life and death as presented in it. But before delving deeper, let me first present a brief introduction about the poet Philip Larkin. Philip Larkin was an English poet, novelist, and librarian. He is considered as one of the finest English poets of his generation and wrote two novels, Jill and A Girl in Winter, before he decisively abandoning fiction for poetry. His first book of poetry, The North Ship, published in 1945, was followed by The Less Deceived, The Whitsun Weddings, and High Windows. Larkin was also associated with movement poetry. The movement was English in character as poets from other parts were not involved. They believed that the modern poets should express young generations' fresh idea of poetry, and in a way they opposed modernism. For the movement poets, poets should focus on the day-to-day experiences rather than modernist poetry. For them, poetry simply meant to be simple, sensuous, condensed, and in dignified form. Coming back to Larkin, as Ifor Evans writes, and I quote, a poet of provincial landscape and domestic interiors, and small human defeats and triumphs. Unquote. For Larkin, poetry was a way to preserve things, and he writes, I write poems to preserve things, both for myself and others, though I feel that my prime responsibility is to the experience itself, which I am trying to keep from oblivion for its own sake. Coming to the poem, Wants is a two stanza poem, each containing 5 lines, or commonly known as quatrains. Written in June 1950, the poem was first published in The Less Deceived, the second poetry collection of Larkin. It is a free verse poem without a rhyme scheme or steady metrical beat. If you go through the poem, you will see that the opening line and ending line in each stanza are same, creating the effect of parallelism. We will talk about it later in the poem. In this particular poem, you should also keep in mind that the poet is examining himself and the desire to be let alone, which is sometimes a feature of human personality. Before moving further, I would like you to go through the poem first so that you can form your own ideas and get a grasp about what the poem is all about. Okay, now if you have done that, let us delve deeper to understand the overall context in the poem. Let us start with the title first. The title Want itself indicates human nature, the desires, and the wishes. The title is very short and static one, but it brings out the theme in a very clear tone. It not only shows the feelings but also the desires of human being. But more than that, it brings out the human need for seclusion and the desire to be alone. The idea of being alone not only suits the poem but also Larkin himself, as it is well known that he was a melancholic introvert. He did not like the crowd, yet he wanted his poems to be read. He loved being alone, but can you think about a poet not performing for an audience? The poem begins with the phrase, beyond all this, suggesting that amidst all the hubble, we have a desire to be alone. Larkin wishes to be all alone, and it brings out his melancholic nature and his introvert approach. Human beings, as a social animal, is trained throughout his or her life to act in a particular manner, and nothing much happens to disturb this monotonous routine. But behind all this, there lies a wish to be secluded. If you look at the next three lines, look carefully at the first word. It starts with however. By using anaphora, he is able to examine the impossibility of escaping contemporary life. Coming back to the second line, look at the word sky grows dark and invitation card. The dark sky denotes the gloominess of Larkin's mind, and the invitation cards the reality of him being invited out when he wants to be all alone. In the third line, he now uses the phrase printed directions of sex, showcasing how the act of making love has become monotonous and more of a mechanic procedure. It is like an exercise without any real feelings attached to it. The printed directions could also indicate that the directions are well known to human beings and there is no individuality. In the next line, he continues the idea of social life with the image of family gathering for the photograph. The flag portrays a sense of unity. It acts as a symbol of togetherness and conformity and love. But in reality, that unity seems almost impossible. The wish remains the same, the wish to be alone. The final line is the repetition of the first line, and the three lines in the middle acts like you can say an act of the madding crowd. In the way the final line underscores the wish to be all alone. The second stanza starts with the phrase beneath it all. Now the poem starts delving into his idea of social animal. It is now delving deeper into it. He is stating that not only he wishes to be alone, but also to forget and be forgotten. The use of the word oblivion states the innate human desire and brings out the idea of existence. We can say that the first line also brings out the idea of death and how it is the only universal truth. Similar to the first stanza, the next three lines brings out the idea of life against one's own wants. Look at the second and third line. The use of artificial tensions of the calendar, the life insurance, the tabled fertility rites, everything indicates the artificiality of life. The use of the word calendar indicates the time and the planning of days like appointments, engagements, and holidays. Life insurance, it is like another way of being alive, and the use of fertility rites indicating marriage and the idea of preservation of society. All these ideas go against the desire of oblivion. One can wish in reality to be dead or to be isolated from the world, but life still continues. Look at the fourth line. Larkin states that human beings throughout their life try to avoid death, try to run away from it. If you look at the lines before, you will be able to connect with it, looking away from death. When we have everything in our life, we get indulged too much in it and forget about death. In a way, we start looking away from death, forgetting that death is inevitable and nothing can reduce its overwhelming impact and magnitude. Larkin once again repeats the first line, showcasing that beneath all the hustle and bustle of life, all we want is to be forget and be forgotten. I hope I have been able to bring out the essence of the poem in an overall manner. Now, if we talk about the themes in this poem in particular, the most important ones are that it reveals the human psychology and human nature. We have now started questioning our own fate and existence as a human being. The real idea of being human has been lost behind the human life, and the excessiveness in our life has made us frustrated. When we had less in our life, we were happy. But now we have excess of everything, and our life is now full of anxiety. We have lost our humane touch and have been more mechanical. It also brings out the theme of seclusion against the instinct to be social. Many times we feel suffocated amidst the crowd and want to be all alone. But if we get in the habit of being too much alone, we start avoiding every social gathering, and in a way we distance ourselves. We want to forget and be forgotten. Larkin also addresses the idea of existence and the drudgery of living. He presents the superficiality of society and the misery beneath the joys and pleasures offered by the world. Andrew Mosen once said about Larkin's poems that they were, and I quote, a debate between hope and hopelessness, between fulfillment and disappointment. End quote. If you look at the words in this poem, such as beyond, however, beneath, they all bring out the gloominess of Larkin's mind and his melancholic nature towards the world. For him, death was the only truth, and living was a transitory lie. He does not offer any solution, but offers a realistic approach towards life. I hope I was able to make it easier for you to understand this short lyric but a beautiful one penned down by Philip Larkin, and I hope you were able to enjoy it. Still, if you have any questions, you can comment below and I would try to answer it for you. Thank you for listening.